and we'll be happy to answer few questions.
Sir, can you please unmute your microphone, sir? Sir, আপনি কি আপনার ফোনটা স্যার মাইক্রোফোনটা আনমিউট করবেন স্যার?
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you for a nice presentation, and there are, I think, exciting information, good information. Maybe there are old things you present in a new way, so our panelists can start discussion now and make comments. And there are with the questions you collected, you can ask questions later. If some questions are answered by this time, you can drop questions. So at the beginning, can I request Professor Shahid Alam sir to make comments, or if he wants to know anything? Thank you, sir.
Must appreciate Professor Samad, who has given us very good lectures on management practice in dairy farm. Actually, he has rightly pointed out the situations that we have been facing in the farm. I think we have enlightened our knowledge using the new technology they have innovated and they have used in the country. It is very important for us, for our vet and the farmers as well. So I must appreciate Professor Samad to spend about around 2 hours with us and presenting his valuable information and sharing this information with us. Well, really the situation of these two countries, almost, farming situation is almost similar. The practical situation is almost similar. Problem is this, he has rightly pointed out the recording system, number of animal used for dairy development or dairy production, and the recording system, and the practice they have to follow. He has rightly pointed out the things. So we must be very careful, particularly the feeding of animals. I mean, nutritional supplementation or any feeding practice in dairy farm is very important. That will interfere the digestive physiology, particularly the insulin-like growth factor, growth hormones, how they interfere the production system, how they interfere the metabolic system. It's very important issues we addressed it. I must appreciate Professor Samad. I must thank him for his time and he has given today. Thank you, Professor Samad.
Thank you very much, Professor Alam. I'm really, I really appreciate your good words, and I hope to many it would appear something basic and not very high fundamentals, but those are basic things which are really needed in our system. And unless we do this, we just cannot talk of IVF, embryo transfer, and all. It's very difficult. We'll be wasting our time and energy and money over it. So basic corrections like housing, animal recording, three things you do, and you will wonderful results.
Actually, Prof. Samad, what happened here in this country? Selection of animal, site selection for the dairy farm development. Selection of animal is one of the most important problem here in this country. Yeah. What sorts of animal or what sorts of breed they are using. And I used to sometimes tell them, well, you are interested in the breeding policy of our country is to raise Frisian animal for having more milk. Well, if you want to raise the Frisian cows, then we need to have a Frisian farmer. So a lot of effort, a lot of money they have to spend. The animal are not suitable for environment. They are less resistant to disease. They need to use more food for their maintenance and the production. So that has to be considered, And problem is the selection for developing farm. Sometimes what we have seen, even in Chittagong, I have seen a few years back, around 20-30 animals died So at last, then we diagnosed that the animal was died due to botulism, as because the farm was built just near to the near to the poultry farm, duck farms. So the animal feed were contaminated with botulism organism, it's called Clostridium botulism. So that was the problem. So the basic thing we need to address for developing any dairy sector. So that has to be addressed very carefully. What you have told us is very important for us to consider it.
I think what
Yeah.
what need to be done, like they have in Western countries, you must be
Yeah.
aware of. There are some
Okay.
minimum standards, minimum standards, like
Minimum standard, yeah.
unless you have those minimum standards, your site is suitable for dairy farm, that how many animals you can keep in particular
Keep it.
area,
Yeah.
what is going to be the housing system. Unless you
Yeah.
have that, you cannot start a dairy farm. How are you going to manage your dung? Where are you going to dispose of? Because otherwise all these leads to n number of problems, like environmental problem, problem.
Sometimes the nutrition bit. What we have seen. Some of the farms, they used to feed the animals a lot of concentrate without considering the type or period of when they have to feed the animal. That you clearly address the when they have to feed the concentrate. I mean,
That's
it's just like this is very important. So sometimes the farmers used to call us and tell them, sir, what happened? My feed, what is called milk fat has dropped. So how much concentrate you are feeding to your animal? Oh, they are feeding their animals without considering the quantities they use and when they are supplied this feed to the animal. These are things. Sometimes the animal has been suffering from laminitis. Sometimes they are having profuse mucus discharge. These are all sorts of things happening after supplying concentration without controlling of supplement. So this is the problem. Sometimes it happens. So they have to consider it. They have to record it in, and we have to give basic things to them so that they can be more useful, or they can use it for greater benefit. So you have rightly pointed out. Thank you so much. You have done it very well. You have done very well. Yeah.
You see, there was a farm, which was having very high incidence of prolapse of uterus.
Yes.
And everybody tried all kinds of treatment, because generally they end up pushing it, give this, give that. And when I visited, I just asked him, what is the protein percentage in the feed?
15%, yeah.
And he said 26%. Who told you 26% protein?
Yeah.
And then I told them, okay, let's go for blood urea, and we found blood urea 200 milligram per deciliter.
Yeah.
I told them, it has to come down to 10 times less. So we manipulated, from 26 to 16, 18%, and then it came down consistently, and they don't have problem of prolapse of uterus.
Yes.
See, that is where I say the vets, should not only focus on a particular animal with a disease and treatment.
Yeah, holistic approach is more appropriate, and sometimes they used to supply the CP more than 25%. So it's very dangerous for the animal. So 16% is enough for the fertility and protection. So sometimes you argue with the animal science people. So why you advise them to supplement the animal with the CP of 25%? It's very dangerous.
But he was advising.
So the farmer must understand it. Vet must understand it. What
he was advising the vet, actually.
Yeah. That should
because they had imported cows from Sweden. So these gentlemen thought that imported cows is good protein. Give protein. So you ended up.
This happened. So
okay, thank you very much, sir. So at this stage, can I request Dr. Farhad Hussain, if you want to comment or can ask any question?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Samad. He is described nicely about heart health management, reproductive health management, all these things, and nicely point out negative energy balance, early pregnancy diagnosis, nutritional management, housing, site selection, etc. In our country, the concentration roughage ratio should not maintain properly. Cows are always reared in confined and a concrete floor. There is always problems in mastitis and also foot rot and pneumonitis. There is an always problem in low milk production. In this area, but there is also high temperature, also high humidity is there. Most of the cows are, that is 50 to 87% Frisian cross. Farmers are always suffer. How could we general farmers will be mitigated these things in this environment, in these areas, Professor Samar?
Well, you see, as far as heat
Hello,
stress.
are you see?
Yeah. As far as heat stress is concerned, you have
Hello.
asked me about. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. No problem, you can
Okay.
continue, sir.
As I said about heat stress, it's both heat as well as humidity index. That is to be taken into consideration.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a topic, I think, which will require at least half an hour for me to explain what
Yes.
I do over here.
Yes.
So maybe some other time I will discuss about that. And basically we tackle it from two issues. Number one, fine tuning the environment, housing environment, and number two is nutrition management. So these are the two tools which you can reduce the heat stress. And I mean, there are some good technologies also available. That probably
Yes.
we'll discuss at one time. But my what I would like to tell to the university colleague is that there is no point going to farmer and telling them do this, do this, do this. I would recommend that you have 2 to 3 different type of cow housing in your own farm. Okay, and then people will come and see, and then we will start adopting. So it has to start from the institutes and from the training institutes, because I remember when I started talking about loose housing, not tying the animal earthen flooring, the first thing I did was I demolished one of my barn in the farm, and then converting that into a loose housing system. And then I got myself very convinced that what I'm talking is really working. And then I started telling people, come to my farm, I'll show you how it is to be done. And then you don't have to tell anything. Farmer will come and observe, will talk to the labor over there, and labor will tell them what is happening. They probably will believe more on the laborers and other farmers who are working over there, and they take the message and adopt it. So that is how I think the system works. And for feed formulation, I think that is one area where a lot of training we need to give to vets. And like in MobiVet, we have got now a feed formulation module also. So there you can pick up what farmer is feeding, and you can find out how much is the energy, protein, fiber, etc. So those kind of tools, unless you give in the hands of the vets, they won't be able to give correct consultancy to the farmer.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. So now can I request Dr. Ashikur Rahman if he wants to make any comments? Dr. Ashikur Rahman, our ex-colleagues, now he lives in Canada. Hello. There is some sound problem. We really cannot hear you.
ঠিক unmute করে দাও। Nijan, Ashika, unmute karo, please. Ask him to unmute him.
He is unmuted, sir. I don't know. We cannot hear him. There may be some problem. Okay, no problem. We can come back to him later. So now, can I request Aziz Siddiqui, Dr. Aziz Siddiqui, to make any comments?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very much.
Good morning from my side and good evening to everyone. Very nice to see some of my beloved loving faces. First of all, I would like to show my respect to my Professor Dr. Ghulam Shahi Alam sir, and thank you for giving the nice presentation to Dr. Professor Samad. It was very interesting and renewing for us that what we have learned during our college on the reproductive management, and then what we do practice, in fact, all over the world, in USA, Canada, in India, and also in Bangladesh. There is actually no big difference in terms of the practices that we are doing. So, but this was definitely a renewing information for us. I would like to thank Dr. Mizanur Rahman, the professor, for making this such arrangement, mainly in the open space for the public. I think one of the focus or goals should be for the farmers, so that they can take some take-home messages. Honestly, there are lots of academic discussion. I guess many of the things kind of went ahead of, on top of their head for those farmers. But technically, what I was listening and also what I was seeing from the comments coming from the farmers, they were actually looking for some of the practical solution in terms of the feeding issues, especially for what we mentioned about that negative energy balance. So how actually they can solve that? So that is one of the issue. I think if somehow we could carry that message to our farmers, probably in Bengali, probably would be better. I'm not sure how many of our farmers actually understood all of those issues. The second thing that actually I actually have a question to Dr. Samad about his last slide where he mentioned about protected starch to use for the cattle. And we know that cattle use the starch in a slightly different way than we do. In fact, blood sugar level in cattle is much lower than human. Now, if you are providing the protected starch, human protected starch, and go into the intestine, and then if the blood sugar glucose level goes high, how that impact the health of the animal, and especially how that impact the fertility of the animal? Is there any study that you have done, or if you have any research output on that? So with that one, I would stop and would like to get some feedback from Dr. Sama.
I have seen quite a few papers, where they have used protected starch, and they have said there are two issues, with protected starch, and I did mention about that in my presentation, that you can't overload the intestine with protected starch, because the capacity of digestion of starch, number one, is not as high as we see in monogastric, and number two, you don't want the surge of glucose, but definitely some surge of glucose, it is suggested, is good, because that stimulates insulin secretion. And as I have said in my presentation, that in first 50 days, if you can manage high IGF-1 and the growth hormone, as well as slightly higher level of insulin, it has got good effect on cyclicity. But it is also said that if you cannot continue with this kind of feeding practice beyond 50 days, because then it has an adverse effect. So it's like very fine balancing between how much you would like to give to rumen and for digestion, how much you would like to give to intestine. And in general, I have seen papers where they suggest that around 200 gram of protected starch is good enough to take care of the energy requirement in first 50 days. But if you can have a silage, which has got an ear, which has got good mature, maize or corn over it, then in that case, you can reduce the corn, protected starch, because then you are giving starch from the silage by itself. So it has to be managed. So this 200 gram I am following in India, because our people give silage which is slightly early stage. So we don't have a lot of corn seed which is there at the time of silage making. So for that I find 200 gram is all right, as far as I have done it over here.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, you
Can I add a few more?
Yes. Yeah.
Sure. All right. So one of the things is that I think we see it both in it's common picture for both, I guess, for India and Bangladesh, with, especially the outreach veterinarians when we go to the farmers. We actually miss that piece, that the clinical nutrition portion. We cannot provide them exact. We always go with the percentage and stuff like that. We never consider that, okay, your cow is producing 10 liters of milk. How much protein is actually draining out through the milk, and how much protein has to be provided in that nutrition? How to calculate those stuff? I guess those are the few things. I mean, not as a comment to that presentation, I'm just talking to those who are actually in Bangladesh practicing. I think we should focus on that particular area, advising or teaching our farmers that, okay, your cow is producing 10 liters of milk and you need this much of protein to be ensured in there, instead of saying this percentage and that percentage. That's the one thing. The other quick comment not a comment, is a suggestion. One of our observation, what we found during our research in UW Madison, that when the follicle has high amount of IGF, actually that eventually go towards the formation of cyst. And that is also true for the insulin. So I'm just wondering, like, if insulin goes high or up because of the extreme high level of glucose, probably would be good, interesting area to do some research down the road and how that affect actually the reproduction. With that one, thank you so much. I appreciated all of your time and effort, and thank you all. Especially, I very emotional to see my my teacher, Professor Dr. Golam Shahi, after so many days. Thank you, sir, for seeing you here and hearing your nice voice.
Thank you, Aziz.
Yeah.
See, for feed formulation, in our app, we have given a module where if you're recording, animals, milk also. So you can pick up any animal and it will tell you, how much of energy is required, how much of protein is required, and then you can do a feed formulation, and it will also tell you whether that is adequate or not adequate. So that is something which can be used in field, and you can have an inventory of all your feed which you are using as an ingredient, and its chemical composition can be given, and quickly even farmer can also use that app, because it's available in Bengali language also.
Hey, Samad, actually, there are some reports. The animal producing higher milk, they are having less concentration of insulin. But animals, those who are producing less, they don't have such problem,
Yeah.
So that when there is lacking of insulin, there is a low concentration of IGF in the liver. And when there is a low concentration of IGF in the liver, there is the glucogenesis in liver is increased. As a result, lactogenesis, it helps in lactogenesis, and non-stratified fatty acid move forward. So this is happening, you know. So that has to be considered, you know, what type of animal we are using in the farm and what sorts of starch we have to supplement them. That has to be considered. Regarding protein supplementation, same thing is happening. They have supplied, they have supplemented them 20%, 25%. But there is a report that we must not supplement them not more than 14 or 16%. When we go beyond 16%, or when we give less than 16% of CP, that will interfere the follicular development as well as they will interfere the reproduction, fertility, and everything. So that has to be considered. It's a clinical bit that we have to discuss with the farmer, how much food, how much feed they need to supplement them for better production. That has to be addressed in the farm for the farmer, fertility, isn't it? I think that
and what I have done today is given you tips, and you know those are the tips which you need to pick up and find out, you know, what is good level for, you know, your farm and, you know, for your country, because it has to be economical also.
And also the animal is very important. What sorts of animals they are using for the production of milk? That's very important. With low productive animal, they don't have any problem of insulin, but with high producing animals, they have the problem of insulin. And when there is a problem of insulin, there is a low concentration of IGF and growth hormone receptor in the liver. When there is a low concentration of IGF and the insulin growth factor, so growth hormone is increased in the circulation, and they will not active, they are not functioning well. So as a result, a lot of problem will arise metabolically, and the farm production will reduce. So that has to be considered, but it is in detail in academics. I don't put my things in academics. The problem is this: we have to address it with the discussion with the farmer. What are the things? What are the feeding system you have to follow for having good production practice? That's all, isn't it?
You're right.
Yeah.
You see, you know, I always consider, you know, Bangladesh, you know, should be in forefront of, you know, dairying compared to India, because you know you have a thriving meat industry. Okay, so you can cull, you know, your cows, and you know they can, you know, still make some money. Whereas now here we are fighting that we should not go for you know, high producing cow, but we should go for a cow which will remain with the farmer for longer period of time.
Longer period. That's important. That's important.
Okay. So instead of going for 10,000 kg, you know, we are happy with 4,000, 4,500 kg of milk, but it remains at least for 4 lactation, 5 lactations. So therefore, all our strategies are slightly, you know, shifted. So I always tell people that, you know, these are the tips I am giving you. Don't feel that, you know, whatever I say is going to, you know, work in your area. You need to fine tune it to, you know, your need.
So the government policy should be like that. You know, the breeding policy should be clearly defined. What sorts of animal farmer has to keep it for their farm, for production, for better production. There is a problem, you know, a lot of things that we have to discuss, and we have to find out after discussion with the farmers. That's all.
See, there are lots of questions. I don't know whether we have time to answer that. So what I would suggest to you is you can compile all these questions, and send it over to me. I will give replies wherever possible to all the questions, and then you can you know, have on your portal, you know, you can display all these replies, and people can still, you know, comment.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, very much. Thank you very much. So, can I request Dr. Ashikur Rahman now, if we can hear him?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry for the technical problem. So I'd like to start with thanking the organizer, the Udder Health of Bangladesh, Professor Mizan, to invite me. This gives me a very great opportunity to listen to a very comprehensive lecture of Professor Dr. Samad. I truly enjoyed. It was enlightened to go back to some of the things that I usually used to work with, and also this gives me an opportunity to see after a long time, my dear professor, Dr. Golam Shahi Alam, he's the one, he brings me to the field of reproduction. I really indebted to him, and in this opportunity, I also see some of my dear colleagues. Of course, I mean, this is a very a timely presentation that will help our the farmers of Bangladesh. I have had a little background and working experience for the dairy farmers, particularly in Chittagong. So I know that one of the basic problem, as Dr. Samad just emphasized on his presentation as the take-home message, the first one was the recording. So I think that one of the problems that our practice and the farmers is to look at the problems in population or herd perspective. Okay, most of the times we focus on individual problems. Maybe that doesn't put much emphasis on the economic point of view or the hard point of view. So I think that the way Professor Samad that explained that you have to have an idea of your local dairy farm problem. So in order to have the idea, the best things to do that to make a system that you can just acquire the regular data, because that is very important for all the technical things that what is required. We might be just very interested about taking a technology that is already developed and directly employed to our farms, but that is not a good idea, because you have to understand your local problem, what is your basic need. So in order to explore this, the best thing that if you can just explore that what is your local problem. So the local problem can be only acquired through a routine database system. If you can just assess and a benchmark on the parameter that Dr. Samad emphasized, that you need to benchmark your problems according to the basic parameter that is thing. So I think that is what our things need, and in this process, the best way to do that is every local university that can help, because if they can just employ a reproductive hard health or hard health programs, a consolidated hard health program, then the farmers can be get benefited, because the hard health concept or the reproductive hard health concept that actually accumulate all the different disciplines expert to bring in. So if the problem can be identified at the hard level, then the different discipline that can go into deep by research, by exchanging their ideas to the farmers. So the ultimately the farmers will be benefited. So sometimes other than the focus that we think that this is going to affect the problem, that can be better explained if the data or the hard level data that can be explained and compared between different farms. So yeah, thank you so much for inviting me again, and I'll be happy to be in touch with all the problems, although I am away from, but I'll be happy to just be a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Ashkur Rahman.
Actually, I must confess that I'm not an animal reproduction person. So, all those in intricacy, neither I am an animal nutrition person. So I'm a practitioner. So so whatever is required for practice, that I pick up, assemble it, and deliver to the farmer, and then get a feedback and fine tune if necessary. So that is how I work. So a lot of these intricacies I do read, but then I believe that if it clicks, you take it to the farmer, find out. I've got very good farmers who allow me to do some kind of this field experimentation with them. So if I tell them, okay, I give you protected starch, feed it, for let me see what happens. And then if they say that, sir, it's working fine, so I proceed with that. So it's more of a, like practical things which I do in field, and since I work only in those farms where they take my data recording system. If they say we don't want to keep record, I say thank you, I'm not interested in your farm,
Yeah, of course you cannot. Yeah.
because I don't want to hit in dark and tell you things which I'm not convinced with.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. So there is another colleague, Dr. Dibyendu Vishwas. Do you want to ask anything or do you have comments? Please go on. You have to unmute yourself. Okay.
First of all, namaskar everybody, because there are so many teachers in these streams. Hello, sir. So long days I just saw him in these streams. Thank you, sir. And also thank you, Dr. Mizans and Dr. Abdul Samad. Actually, I total lectures I had. I have one practical questions to Dr. Samad. One question is that in Bangladesh, near about the conception rate in per insemination near about 1.5 insemination per conception. But you show that your data shows about per conception about 70% conception rate in third AI. Actually, it is a very big number, I think, because there are so many costs in regards to the AI. So that's is because in Bangladesh near about research data indicate that about 1.5 AI per conception, and maybe it is the optimum in our country. Sometimes one. Another practical question is that in my field, because I am the practitioner in these productions or in the farm visits, some animals are showing continuous heating near about 2 or 3 days or more than 3 days. At that times, we need third time AI, and third time AI is the successful. So the first one or first two is unsuccessful. Actually, it was not understand why these animals showing that type of stress cycle. That means the stress showing about 4 days, 4 days, not that is more than 3 days. So these two questions and very informative. Thank you very much, sir. Because I show your several lectures on the Zoom. Thank you, sir. I have one question. Thank you, Dr. Milans. And
Yes, sir. Dr. Samad, sir.
Okay. Okay. Showing of continuous heat for 3 days is also quite common here. I have seen lots of such cases. Recently, I analyzed data, which I have of around 9.5 lakh animals. For a basic question, because there are certain areas where vets were insisting that they will give double dose semen instead of one straw, thinking that the vitality or the motility of sperm may be less, so they would like to give two instead of one. So I just analyzed data to find out one versus two straw, what is the difference. And number two, there were also vets who were doing insemination twice in a day and also next day, because they thought that there is continuous estrus. And my data suggests that if you are all these problems is become complicated when you don't have heat reporting system in order. If the farmer has detected heat, and if he has communicated in right moment, and if you are reaching out between 12 to 18 hours and inseminating, I think it's fine. And if the heat is like mounting heat, standing heat, which we call, and if you are inseminating between 12 to 18 hours of reporting, then it doesn't matter whether you want to give it afterwards, second insemination, third insemination. But all those who insist that we would like to do insemination, I give them a practical approach that you can do second insemination, and in that case you deposit semen near the cervix. Don't try to penetrate the cervix. Just leave it outside the cervix if you really want to do it, twice or thrice. All these are very practical issues, which becomes very difficult to explain scientifically. But then, you have to, work along, because there are certain farmers who will say, no, I would like to have second insemination. I would like to, use two, yes. So to satisfy them, you have to find out some way out. But it's very common, even common, second day, third day also showing heat, but it does not mean that it is in heat. It's only, the heat is prolonged.
With the permission from Dr. Samad, may I compliment a little bit with this question?
Please, yeah, please.
All right, so this is our observation. We have done a huge number of ultrasonography on a daily basis, like every hour, sometimes hourly basis also we have to scan. Especially for my experience, for 5 years of scanning the dairy cattle with ultrasonography, Doppler ultrasonography, what we have noticed about these issues, that especially you would find, especially for the young animals, they have a huge number of follicles in their ovaries, and that follicles are filled with so much fluid, filled with so much estrogen, and sometimes the number of follicles are so many that the high level of estrogen put them in the stress. So of course, those are pro-stress, not ready for the insemination AI yet. But it goes for a long time. When you look at it from the farmer's point of view, they see that it's a long, prolonged stress. But actually, there is an end of the stress. On the other hand, there are certain cows who has a medium amount of follicles. They're pretty much the normal type of estrogen. I have seen many, a good number of more than 15 to 20% of the cow, especially those who are in the older age, they come with 2 or 3 follicles and continues to the end. And sometimes they even show silent heat. So this is all about the number of follicles and the amount of fluid you find in the follicles, the amount of estrogen available for showing the estrus sign. So that is what we can explain at this point. But correctly, what Dr. Samad said, from the farmer's point of view, when you have that long estrus, you cannot just do one single AI and expect that the cow is going to be conceived. So you need to use more than 1, 2, or sometimes 3. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. So we have a couple of dairy farmers here. I see 2 here. So if anybody of you can ask questions. Who wants to ask first? Maybe Ibrahim bhai, you can ask first. Professor Ibrahim.
Thank you very much. Actually, I think that many of our farmers have such type of problems. That is, after AI, there is artificial insemination. After 2 or 3 days, sometimes we get bleeding. Would you please tell me how is it a dangerous thing, or how we can prevent this? Thank you.
You don't have to worry. It's a metastral bleeding. It happens in crossbred cows, so you don't have to worry. I mean, at least I tell farmers not to worry. Still, we have learned Dr. Ghulam Shahi is there, Dr. Aziz Siddiq is there. They can also add, what exactly they do, when they come to this situation. As far as I'm concerned, I tell farmer not to worry.
Same thing, yeah.
No, this is not a problem. This is a normal phenomenon with cows. But one thing, if you are doing the AI before that bleeding, you probably are good. But if you are doing the AI during the bleeding period, the semen is going to be captured by the blood, so it's not going to go any further. But there shouldn't be any problem. It is normal.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, any further questions from you, Professor Ibrahim?
Sometimes, yes, here there is another question. Sometimes we use injection known as Fertility. It is actually
Gonadotrophin,
hormone. Actually, that is, it is
Not able to hear.
pin.
It's a connectivity problem.
Connectivity problem.
Yes. So maybe you can ask. Maybe we can talk later. So Iqbal Hussain, if you want to ask some question, you can ask because it is.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to say salam to Professor Golab Shahid sir, Abdul Samad sir, and everybody is here. Actually, all of them are the intellectual person is with us today. On behalf of farmer, I have something to say. Like, actually, I will not ask any question because we have to start from the first level, the day one level. That will have a lot of problem in the field level still. Like if you say housing. So because our professors is here, also for us on behalf of our um, government side, like our dealer side, he is also here. Maybe with Professor Mr. Mizan, also I asked you last 6 months ago that we have to make some module for our housing, like for 10 cows, for 15 cows, for 20 cows, we have to make some module, and we can make a group for emailing, for chatting, like with our honorable professor, all will be there. We can discuss and we can do something for our farmers. If you complain always, and if you say when our government or will give support, I think it will not solve for us. So first of all, housing is the main issue, and the recording, we already start recording, and on behalf of our Chittagong Divisional Dairy Farmers Association, we are going to publish 1,000 book for recording, manual book for recording, and we are trying to start with 1,000 farmers in the within this month, and also we are trying to keep all data record for the AI. We are using we already have some program with our AI department, ID from our DLS department, that we will use some semen which is already progeny tested, some semen which is new bull. So we can know if we use the new bull and if we keep the data, so we can know within 2 years or 2.5 years which bulls heifer is giving good performance. In this like this way, we are trying to start from within this 2-3 months. But we have this plan to do before 6 months. But due to COVID-19, we already have some problem in this is there. So inshallah, soon we will start keeping data like 1,000 farmers, and we will use both semen, some good semen and some new wool semen, to understand which one is doing good. This all. And as you say, we already have some cows with high percentage, like more than 87% or more than 75% cow we have. And we have high humidity, and we have, as you said, the flooring problem, everything is there. And also we have the problem with the heat, like 3 days, sometimes 4 days. And another problem is there, like after 7 to 10 days, again the cow showing heat. Is also a big problem. And when we call our AI guys, they come and they do the insemination. And like this, we have a lot of problem in the field level. Another thing is our university teachers and students and we farmer, we don't have a lot of good cooperation. I think this is also another issue. As Professor Mr. Samad said, he like to work with farmers. So I request our teachers, our university professor, and our all students, they should come to us. Also, you should go to them, so we can work together. Then if you have some problem, we can solve and we can get the new things. And another, you give a proposal about you have some new technology, some you already have something test kit and something else. So we are interested to work with you. Also, our DLS and our ministers, inshallah, they will help us. We already have few meetings, so we can talk about this. So we can use some advanced level technology to solve our problem. Obviously, European problem is the European system and our system is actually not same. Also, the European and USA system, they're too expensive. Already tried to get something, but that is not viable for our farmers because a lot of expenses there, and we don't have any subsidy from government. We don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough AI technicians. We have a lot of problem. We don't have enough good advisor also. Also, we have a big gap with like Professor Shalom sir. I just see today, but I don't know like this intellectual person is in our field have. If you know from the past, so we can make and we can solve our more problem and we can share our knowledge. We can say our leakage, so we can get more knowledge, more skill like this people. So inshallah, under this Udder health program, we are coming close each another. Professor Adi Siddiqui sir is there, Ashik Bhai is there. So I hope we can make a good team and we can work for our farmers, not for business, just to make something. Already we are much behind. Bangladesh, if I calculate, like even in UAE and Bangladesh have freedom same time. But where the UAE is now, but where even in the India also much better position than Bangladesh. We don't have much technology. Even a tier 1 mixer is not available in Bangladesh. If I want to buy a tier 1 mixer machine, I have to go to the D level or like this big company, and it's such big expensive. And our mill rate is very low, and a lot of problem is there. So this all things not viable. We have to do, like you say, local production, local technology, as is not rocket science. If it's rocket science, different thing. It's not rocket science. We have to be more active, and we have to work together, and then I hope we can solve our problem. And I have a question now. As you say, the pregnancy test by urine you are doing in India. How is the accuracy rate of this? Is like the accuracy rate is good, so we can also try can get the technology from you also. Thank you very much for this program.
Okay, I have two observations. The first one, you said you are starting data recording, and you are going to give them books. It's good that you are at least starting with some recording system. But the problem with manual data recording is that it doesn't go for analysis, and if it is not analyzed at the right time and you don't learn from your data, then it becomes a kind of academic exercise where you just keep for the sake of keeping. It will increase your labor, because somebody then has to take that book, enter into the computer, then analyze, and then tell you what is going to happen. Now that we have digitized system, which is my system is available in Bangladesh also now. And if you really want to do with that 1,000 farmers, I can talk to our person there and help you out, so that you can start a pilot project with those 1,000 farmers, and you can start keeping it short. So we can also show to other people that it is possible. Otherwise, even in India, when I started, after coming from Canada, where I was using a lot of this data, I came back to India. I said, why we can't have such a system? I went to government agencies, tried to convince them, and they were like, ridiculing me, saying that, what are you talking in India? Data recording, computer, farmer, one animal, 5 animals, impossible. But I insisted, developed, this system, and now I have around 1 million animals on my record, and it is ever expanding, and people are using. So people are, if it is useful, people adopt very fast. Mobile literacy is very high, even in relatively illiterate people. So my suggestion to you would be that you go for a digitized system, so that all the stakeholders will be able to have the records analyzed with them to take corrective actions at the right time. This is number one. And what was your question? You had asked me.
The pregnancy test by urine.
Urine test. Well, as I have said, this urine test, we have done it in around 500 cows up till now, and it is giving us around 85% accuracy rate currently. But as I have said, this student has got a startup fund, and he is under incubation. So probably another 3 months he is going to improvise it. And maybe we will be very happy if you come to around 95% sensitivity and specificity. So that is what we are looking at. So for this technology, you may have to wait for another 6 months or 1 year to come out in the field. But we, in some organization, I am using those kits that are available for blood. So we have started using that. It's a company which is marketing in India, probably must be there even in Bangladesh. So here it costs around 200 rupees, per test. So you have to put a blood on it, and you can do the diagnosis. That is what it is. We can do over here. We tried, ultrasonography, but it's impossible, because you got to carry the sonography machine, and there is a law here in India which says that you got to have sonography machine in a room and you cannot remove it, because then people start doing in women and a male and female problem. So we have got a legal issue. So we are not able to use ultrasonography. That is a useful tool if you have a large number of animals, or one vet having a sonography machine and going out and doing diagnosis. But early diagnosis is important. We cannot wait for 60 days and 90 days for diagnosis.
Dr. Mizan, if I can compliment.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Just yeah.
Okay, go on, please.
I just let me just congratulate Muhammad Iqbal Hossain as a dairy farmer. I really appreciate that he started or initiated a recording system. And as Dr. Samad said, that of course you need to go digitalization. And at this point, I just like to share my experience. Actually, I was the first one in Chittagong that started this dairy health data recording system. And during my things with Australian University of Queensland, we just developed a database. It's our own database. And for this kind of approach, you need to have some academic support. So what we propose at that time, it should be a industry academic partnership. Okay, so the dairy industry that cannot do it alone. So you need to have some format where this data that can come to a central database, and that comes into a regular or a periodic analysis. Okay, because as Dr. Samad rightly mentioned, that many of the reproductive and fertility parameters that you need to analyze periodically to have a overall idea for the farms, not only one farms, for the 1,000 farms. And by this way, you can set up a benchmark of all these parameter at Chittagong level. Okay, and that can give you an idea what is the best 25% that achieving, and that led the other firms to follow that. So this is a consolidated approach. It's not an individual approach. So for which I think that the UHB can take a lead. You can merge with the USB, because I have the experience of developing this kind of database. I'll be always happy to help you in any ways I can. So this is a very first step, because unless you analyze the local condition, whatever technical support you expect, it cannot help you, because it is not a one individual cow problem. Okay, it's a problem for your herd. You are focusing on an individual problem, like some of my cow is having repeat breeding. Your focus goes there. Maybe this is not the problems for your farm economy. Maybe there is another issue that is unexplored. So for these things, this database and continuous feeding this database into the decision making, that is very important, because the decision making that based on your farm status, the overall status. So for which I think that USB can take a lead, and for the database also you developed, I think that need to be is standardized, because it has to have something. Maybe in your database there are some information that is gap. Already Dr. Samad said that they have already developed a software that is based, but they have come across through their initial step. They didn't develop this overnight. Okay, they took a lot of time. So you have to come at that stage, because you just initiated a manual system that has to be digitized, and that has to be connected to a central database for all the farms, somebody to analyze and somebody engage. And then you will find that Chittagong farmers, they will have all the access for all the important or technical support that you need, because that will be rightly implicated. Otherwise, as Dr. Samad mentioned, that all your efforts will be in vain. The DLS support, and nobody can help you if you can help yourself. Okay, so that has to be go through a directed approach. So that's what I can just share. Thank you.
So you say we have to we have to set some standard for our.
Yeah, I mean this standard is based on not only your
based on our
it's not your farm standard. It has to
like
be
for
a local
Bangladesh,
standard.
for Chittagong, for the farmers.
Every level. Yeah.
May I compliment a little bit about the US experience here?
Yes.
So in flow with Dr. Ashik Bhai, what he said is absolutely correct. What US and Canada is practicing. What we do in here, we call it DHI, Dairy Herd Information System, controlled by the government, by USDA. So it should be DLS. Now, you may have multiple platforms, multiple softwares, people are collecting data. All should be plugged in or interfaced to the central system, which is owned by the government, controlled by the government, but government itself is not competent enough to do the analysis or calculations. So then they engage or they make partnership with the universities. For example, in here, North Carolina University is working with those areas. So it is just not only one particular program that 1 or 2% created, like Dr. Ashik Bhai at that time, he was using some programs. I remember with Dr. Shahilum, sir, I was using IDA Asia, if you remember, sir. So there are lots of platforms, but never, 20 years ago, our technology was not that fast or that developed. But if we could flag in all of those, and if DLS could come in forward that, okay, we need that DHI, dairy herd information for development of the country, for the dairy system. Well, it's not too late yet. We still can start it.
Yeah.
Maybe this platform can be one of the advocates to the DLS to do that. So, yeah.
You see, you're right, because in Canada, DHI, the data recording system is very, very old.
It's
system.
1938 they have started this.
Yeah. But see, the problem in this part of the world is slightly different. I give you an example of India. In India, although as I have said, I started focusing on data recording 20 years back, and it was 2000 when I first developed a simple computer-based, desktop-based system for a farm, and then we started using different technologies. And then suddenly the government came forward saying that they would like to develop their own system. So National Dairy Development Board here in India developed a system called INAP. Okay, so there also we told them that, okay, you don't think you will be able to do everything yourself. You can have a national platform, but data capturing and data transfer, you can leave it to private players, or private companies, or dairy cooperatives. They did not listen to, and we are now onto a stage where the whole network system is collapsed. Because in government, also remember, in our part of the world, basic problem is we don't want transparency. We don't want accountability. This is a reality. Okay. And if you have data recording system, it leads to transparency and accountability. So as a result, in India, no government officer is using it. Yes. Nobody wants to use it. They are having some excuses. So I think what need to be done in our part of the world is you can have a standard, like International Committee on Animal Recording already has got a standard for data recording, which can be used by simple some modifications can be adopted by any country. So you need a lot of players. In India now there are 4 or 5 companies which have started data recording. Now insurance companies are coming forward and using that data. So data becomes revenue neutral later on. It earns data, because data is actually gold mine. Once you have data, and if it is accessible to industry, they can use it hugely. Whereas in Canada as well as USA, I have gone to number of DHI with my system. A number of DHI provincial associations gave them presentation, and they all told me that their basic problem is their data is in silo. And industries are now criticizing that they don't have access to that data. Okay, because if feed companies, breeding companies, all other companies are having data in real time, then your extension becomes realistic. If a company, animal nutrition company, if he goes to farmer and wants to advise, if he has data of that farmer on his mobile, then he will be able to give specific advice. Otherwise, it is going to be generic advice. He will be able to tell some product which the farmer doesn't need. So having a centralized database with lots of private players joining, and because data recording and it requires a lot of involvement. We have got people who work 24 hours to solve problems, field problems, which is not possible in government. So the universities and government can access data, whatever is needed for them, but for the software and data capturing, leave it to private players. That is what I think is going to be useful in this part of the world.
Yeah, I just like to compliment just a little bit on that, because from my experience in Canada, because I was involved in a University of Montreal project that was a national project. So what they do, I mean, that I think that can follow it in Chittagong and the other parts of the Bangladesh, is that the farmers also mentioned that there are some sometimes they feel like not having the service. Okay, they don't have access to sometimes the practitioners and other things. So what university can do, I mean, like some of the department like medicine and the other department, they can employ like what Dr. Samad already did at their place, that the ambulatory clinics, I mean, the involve the student as a part of course. Okay, they will visit a certain period or certain hours. They must go to the local farms and they will take, I mean, if the farmers records are digitized, what they can do, they can link up and hook up what in University of Montreal does for the third final year students. They go there, they just plug in something, some of the device to the farmer's computer, they extract the data, they bring it back, they analyze it, and they feed back to the farmers. Okay, so
Right.
that is that should be a sustainable system, as thing that, okay, as Dr. Siddiq that advised, that of course the DLS and the government that can come later, but it has to have at certain level when the government can take part, because government doesn't employ their investment in a place that they don't see any fruitful outcome. So the university at the first place, because they are both way benefited, because it is a part of the student learning as well the university research, and the farmer support both can be complemented with this kind of system if they can develop. So I think that farmers need is also fulfilled, because farmers will always have someone coming to the farms. They can provide some clinical help, on spot help, as well as they at the same time they can advise a routine feedback of the data they have analyzed. It could be a 15 days analyze, or it could be a monthly analyze. So overall, in both way, the parties will be benefited.
And
Okay, I have a
my
question
my
to yeah,
my
I have
my
one more
advice,
question to. Okay, yes, you can add.
my advice would be, don't depend on government for this issue. They would not do it. I can assure you they will not do for 10 or 15 years, because I struggled for that period of time with the government here. They start doing it when university and the farmers join hands, the cooperatives and the milk producers join hands, and you have two or three examples set up, and then people go and tell the politicians go and tell they pressurize that, okay, this is the system we need, and then they wake up and start doing it. So having successful pilot projects to show that this is working is extremely important. Otherwise government officers feel this is something which is above their head, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm agree with
Yeah,
Mr. Samad. Actually, we have
Yeah.
to show our government. We have to show our government that we are 1,000 farmers doing this data we're keeping, and we are getting this benefit. And government should support us and
That's right.
hold the country, hold the country. We should do this like this. And if we are looking for the government when they come to us and they'll do it, I think it will take more time. But we are lucky. Our prime minister, they are helping us a lot. She's involving with our farmers, and she's thinking about us always. So we are lucky now. During the COVID-19, also and also before, I see she helped us a lot. But still, we have a lot of problem in our system. The DLS, in the AI technician, every month they need at least 10 days to fill up the manual form. How many semen they took, how many semen they give in the field, how many semen successfully have done. Everything they have to write. But still now we have no any record from them which bull is doing good, or which bulls would have more fertility, which bull have problem, which bull a lot of things there, but no record is there. Also, our they can encourage our farmer. They can give notification to our farmer to keep record, but a lot of leakage is there also, because there is not good chain of command, I think, is the problem. So we have to do ourselves. Like private sector have to come up. Like our association can work with university teachers like you, who are willingly want to help the farmers. It's very important to have dedication in this sector. Without dedication, without help, I think it's not possible to go in front. So, and one question to you, that you say you are maintaining 1 million cows data. How you are doing this? How you are keeping the numbers? Like someone have 10 cows, someone have 50 cows, someone have 100 cows. But how you are maintaining the number and the data, the identification for the cows? Is also important
Okay.
for us.
Yeah. So see, we have developed our own ear tag system, and and that ear tag is instead of having a linear barcode, is having a QR code which is encrypted. And we have developed a cell phone system in which you can scan the QR code of the ear tag, and you get connected to the animal's file.
All the data, yeah.
Then only you can enter the data. So you have avoided all that fudging fabrication. People have not gone but send data. That is impossible, because you have to go near the animal, scan the code, and then enter the data. Data goes to the cell phone, and from cell phone to the server. All this we are doing through dairy cooperatives. So we approach in a dairy cooperative. They say we will tag all our animals and register them, and all their AI technicians are given app on their cell phone, and they are paid only if data is coming digitally. And entire system is totally digital, right from deduction from the farmer, payment to the AI technician. Everything is digitized. So it runs very smoothly. Nobody has to write anything on the piece of paper.
Okay, how is cost per cows? Approximately, how is cost, like for the everything?
Pardon me? Cost?
How is cost? Yeah.
Oh,
expense.
I tell you, it's very cheap, very cost effective.
Then we can do like this. We can do like this. We have to do like this. And where you are keeping the data? You are using some server?
Cloud server. On cloud.
Oh, cloud server. Good.
You can be in any country and access the data.
It's good.
Okay, I think thank you very much. It is going to be 3 hours now. So I think there are more questions. There are more questions from the viewers. So, sir, do you want to answer these questions by email, or it will take much more time?
On behalf of farmers, I will request everybody. We already have 2 or 45 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. If you stay more, the people who are waiting for 3 hours, they will be happy. They will not. If it's possible, I will request everybody to wait 10-20 minutes to answer the question.
Let's take
few
questions.
I apologize. This is 12 p.m.
Okay.
The time difference is slightly different than what you have here. So I thank you so much for everyone for all of your contributions, especially to the organizer, Dr. Mizan. One request that I will make before I leave is that we have some legends, Dr. Shahi Alam, Dr. Shamsuddin, Dr. Jalal. I think you should focus on some of the program because these people are now they are retired. Well, they are retired doesn't mean that they are free. They are still busy. It's difficult to get time out from them. Whatever we have learned from them, we are still selling those in USA and in Canada. All right. So there are lots of stuff that we should know from them. I was surprised when Mr. Iqbal was telling the first time he met Dr. Shahi Alam or Dr. Shamsuddin. We are the second line people. Those are our forefathers. We should listen to them. So with that, thank you so much, and I would like to leave now and have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So, Delor, can you please go first with some questions? And if there is some repetition, please drop these questions.
Okay, sir. We got lots of questions from the audience, so I will try to mention few of them. So there's a question from my friend Dr. Pasha. So he asked that if there will be metritis or endometritis with purulent discharge, so in that case, can you use any fluid to drain out the pus to reduce the bacteria and help antibiotic to work efficiently?
Can you repeat?
Yeah, yes, sir. So there is a question: if there will be metritis or endometritis with purulent discharge, in that case, can we use any fluid to drain out the pus to reduce
Oh, okay.
bacteria and help antibiotics to work properly?
Well, as far as intrauterine is concerned, I have my own reservations for intrauterine treatment, simply because the hygiene level at the farm, the kind of sanitation and other practices you would be able to do. And number three, can you restrain animal properly or not? All these questions need to be considered. I would personally have never gone for uterine lavage, like what etc. people have been mentioned. Uh, Intrauterine is possible. You can give intrauterine treatment, but personally I prefer a parental antibiotic treatment for for few days, or 5 days or 7 days, depending upon what is the level of infection. But I don't prefer uterine lavage, washing of uterus.
Okay. Um, so there is another question. Is that this is from an audience from India? So he asked that if placenta is removed manually after calving, what should be the route of drug administration?
After removal of placenta,
Placenta after calving, what should be the route of drug administration?
as I have said, if you are giving intrauterine immediately after parturition, where there is leftover of placenta in the uterus, which will be getting digested, and a lot of fluid is going to be accumulated in the uterus, there is no point giving any intrauterine treatment at that point of time. So you can go for parental treatment. But after 21 days, when the uterus has involuted, and if you are having metritis between day 21 to 45 days or 50 days, at that point of time, if you can really follow the sanitary practices, then you can give intrauterine treatment. But as far as my personal preference goes, I do not prefer intrauterine treatment. But there are people who are giving intrauterine, so there is no issue.
Okay, go on, please.
Thank you, sir. There is another question from dairy farmers. He asked that after fast calving, Shahiwal crossbred cow is not coming into heat last 6 months. So what could be the problem?
Oh, not coming in heat means it's not cycling. So you need to look at the body condition score. Somebody needs to examine correctly to find out the ovaries, whether there is only follicle development. So this question cannot be answered only based on observation that it is not coming in heat for 6 months. So best thing would be they can get in touch with a good vet in the area. And why to wait for 6 months for finding out it is not coming in cycle. It should have been detected much earlier. So let him examine correctly, and let him find out if it is cycling, non-cycling. If it is not cycling, and if there is no, then there is synchronization protocol that can be followed depending upon what is available in Bangladesh.
Okay, sir. There is another question asked by MSc student from Sibasu. He asked that he got a cow that shows estrus sign within 6 to 7 days of AI, though there is no follicular structure in examination. So in that case, how can we minimize the mid-cycle estrus behavior in cow?
You see, as Dr. Aziz had also pointed out that this delayed estrus, or prolonged estrus, or repeated estrus is because of good nutritional status, or a younger animal in first or second or third parity, having lots of follicles getting matured. So there it is possible to have heat after even 1 week. But I don't know if it is possible to prevent this. Maybe Dr. Ghulam Shai, would be able to add, based on his experience as to what is to be done.
What happened, after insemination of 10 days, 10, 12 days, some animal shows 7 to 8% animal shows mid-cycle follicular development and heat signs. So in that case, we have to wait for another 10 days or 12 days to wait, see whether they are conceived or not. So we should not be worried about the mid-cycle Easter sign, So it is due to the mid-cycle follicular development, don't they? It is.
And I generally, if the farmer is very insistent that no, something is to be, then I put the paravet to deposit semen outside the cervix.
So in that case, can we go for the follicular synchronization method? At that time, can you go for the synchronization?
No.
You're not sure whether it is present.
No. If it is inseminated 10 days before, so we should not manipulate them rectally for follicles or anything. You have to wait for another 10, 12 days, see whether she will come back again or not.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay, sir. So, sir, can I ask a few more questions?
It is last question, Delor. You can ask the last question because we have to finish.
Okay, sir. So there is another question from a dairy farmers. So he asked that, does use of heat hormones reduce milk production in cow? Does use of heat hormones reduce milk production in cow?
Hormone.
Heat hormones.
Heat hormones.
Yeah, yes, sir.
What sorts of hormone?
So he mentioned that estrogen and progesterone hormone.
Oh.
The heat hormones.
No, don't use that.
Don't.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So let's finish.
There are many questions, but I asked few of them. So
now I think what we can do, Dr. Delor, we can maybe send the questions and get the answer, and we can post on our website. Then the farmers can see it. That is the solution, because it is 3 hours now, almost 3 hours. So it has become so long. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. And what we can say for all of your information, Professor Samad has a plan to visit Bangladesh, and definitely
welcome.
And he will come to Chittagong as we discussed. So that time maybe we can ask our Professor Ghulam Shahil sir and other Dr. Farhad Hussain, and who are there. Also we can communicate with our colleagues outside in Canada and Dr. Aziz Bhai. Then we can have a discussion with Chittagong. Then we can decide how you can do.
Yeah, I like to invite our Ghulam Shahid sir and Gusam sir, everybody, Chittagong, with our Shafiq Rahman sir, because he is very popular for farmers. Whenever you want to make a program, just please 2 weeks ago you tell me. I will come back to Bangladesh. I will be there, and 2, 3 days, 4 days we can stay, and we can visit some farm, and we can try to solve out our problem.
I don't know whether Professor Samad has visited Bangladesh before. Have you been to Bangladesh before, Prof. Samad?
Yeah, I had been to Bangladesh twice.
Is it? So I don't know how I missed you. I don't know.
I did go to that college which is near Dhaka.
Which one?
It's a old it's, I think the first Mymensingh.
Mymensingh, yeah. But that time I was not there. Right.
So first time I had come through Bill Gates Foundation. So there was some project of Bill Gates. Yeah. So then second time I came for my software, and third time again I came to meet directly DLS and others.
You're most welcome. So when you visit Bangladesh, please let me know so that we can see.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Right.
Pleased to meet you.
Yeah.
And also there is another announcement. That is next month, 10th of October, we have another program with Professor Samad that is on dairy buffalo farming. So we invite you all to participate in this program. And with thanks to everybody, I think it is almost every. Thank you everybody for keeping patience. It is so late, and everybody will have a late dinner today. So thank you very much to stay here, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Samar. Thank you, Bijan. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you.